Hi everybody. So this is just a quick update on my wrist. I mentioned in the first video that I broke my distal radius bone about 6 months ago, and this is my second wrist break, second surgery, and they ended up needing to put in a plate and 13 screws, and this is what the scar looks like right now. I got a couple questions about what mobility and strength is like now, 6 months out, and I can tell you that at this point I have all mobility back and all my strength is back as well. I'm able to do push-ups again. I've been mountain biking every other day, and very, very grateful that I had a wonderful physical therapist and a doctor kind of guiding me throughout this whole process. So I talked about in the second video a lot of the strength exercises and mobility exercises I was working on under the guidance of my physical therapist. This video, I want to talk about some of the comments I was getting regarding like right after surgery, some of the emotions and fears that we have. Because I think sometimes the mental health aspect of recovery is not talked about enough, I think. We talk a lot about the physical aspect, exercises, ways to improve strength, um, but the mental health aspect is huge because after an injury, we might be more fearful. We might be more sad because we can't do that activity anymore. We could possibly be depressed and or anxious. And so there's all these fears possibly flooding our system. And then for me, I can tell you that the way that I would usually deal with my own fear and or depression would be by going out to exercise. But now that you're hurt, you can't go do that activity. So now you're just there kind of dwelling on those feelings. And we all need to have like a healthy way to cope with these emotions. So I want to talk about like the mental health aspect of recovery because that is huge. Um, so number one, I want to say that it's very, very important that all of us, if you are hurt by in an injury, you're traumatized in some way, to number one, honor those feelings. Like you've gone through something very, very hard, something very, very difficult and or painful. And it's important that you let your body deal with those emotions. Um, and you can journal those ideas. If your hand was working, in my case, I couldn't even journal. You can talk about it with a doctor or a therapist or a loved one. Um, but I think the part of just recognizing that those feelings are there is a super important part in recovery because it's your body um, is going through a lot. And when you can't do the things that you enjoy doing anymore for that period of time, it can be very hard on your mental health as well as physically. So, like I was saying, like for me, whenever I would feel sad or depressed or anxious, like my outlet is to go mountain biking. My outlet is to go running. Like I need to get that adrenaline out. And so by doing physical activity, it helps me feel better. Now, when I am like injured in bed and when I broke my wrist, I wasn't able to do those things anymore. Like I'm just sitting there like dwelling and sad, and I can't do those activities that get my heart racing anymore. So, so I think number one, it's important to like recognize those feelings, honor those feelings, and then number two, I think find things you can do in the meantime. So for me, because I couldn't go mountain biking or go skating anymore because I had a broken wrist, all I could do was really walk. And so I just made it a goal of every day to walk an hour. And on my walks, I would sometimes listen to music. Sometimes I would just think about recovery and feeling better. And just being out and about helped me to feel better about myself. So that's something that I was doing. The second thing I was doing was setting goals for myself. So my doctor and my physical therapist had me set goals, like really, really small, like practical goals for myself. So one of my very first goals was really to be able to touch all my fingers with my thumb. And I know that sounds like a really simple goal, but after you break your wrist and your fingers are really swollen and your fingers aren't working properly, just getting your index finger to touch your thumb is huge. Like just getting to this point is like a huge win. And so I was setting little goals like this every day to just, my goal, today is to get my index finger to my thumb. And I would just like, I would force with my other hand, my finger to touch my thumb. And then pretty soon it was working. And then I would work on the next finger. And then slowly but surely be able to get my middle finger to my thumb and then my ring finger. And then I remember the hardest one is my pinky. Like I never thought, like I was like, I get to this point and I'm like, there's no way, like it's not going to work. And I have to get my other hand and like force it to close. And, but surely over time, I was able to do that. And by the time I saw my doctor for the second visit, which was like about a month later, I was able to touch all my fingers. And so he was very, very happy that I could do that. But it did take time. So I think a second part of our own mental health journey is like setting like very realistic, simple goals for ourselves that we can achieve, and not setting the goals too high, but setting up like challenging, realistic goals that we can shoot for. And every single time you achieve one of those goals, like celebrate it. Like I got to tell you, like I know this sounds like the simplest goal, but when you break your wrist or your fingers and you can't do that anymore, and then all of a sudden you can finally like touch your thumb, like it's a huge win, and like celebrate that little win. I remember another goal that I set for myself was like being able to brush my teeth with my right hand. Like it hurts so much to like grip something. But that was a huge win to be able to brush my teeth. And then another goal was like shaving. Like I got to tell you, like holding um, a razor and shaving my face, and then eventually being able to shave my head was like a big deal. Um, and then slowly but surely, I would like graduate to bigger goals. Like eventually, I was able to get a can out of the cupboard and be able to use a can opener to actually open up the can. And it hurts so bad, number one, to lift up a can, and then to be able to lift up a can was huge. And then to be able to like take a can opener and actually turn it, like it hurts so bad. I think it probably took about 4 or 5 months for me to actually be able to turn a can opener to open up a can. Um, so I think it's really important that we're setting goals for ourselves and celebrating those small wins along the way. And then the third thing I'll say is that staying as active as we can is really, really important. So, whatever physical activity you can do that's going to help you feel better, whatever it is, moving your legs, moving your arms, doing some sort of yoga or stretching or going for a walk, like whatever it is you're able to do, push yourself to be able to do that activity as long as it's safe for you and the doctor says it's okay for you to do that. Um, just so you can start getting the blood flowing. I know for me, I just feel so much better doing some physical activities. So if you're able to do that, and that's huge. And the last thing I'll say about mental health is like, I think one key for me for trying to stay optimistic is like visualizing success, like visualizing where I want to be and what recovery will look like for me. And so I think that is something that's really important because sometimes our own fears can sometimes hold us back. And there's been a number of situations in my past where when I broke my scaphoid in my original wrist break, I did it mountain biking. And during my recovery process, like I was scared of going mountain biking. And the hill that I went on, that I broke my wrist on, I did not want to go back down that hill. I was terrified. And I had heard like a sports psychologist in some YouTube video talk about like the importance of visualizing success. And he was saying like he was working with basketball players. And sometimes if a basketball player like broke their wrist or broke their fingers, and they weren't able to shoot a hoop, he would tell them to just like visualize themselves, shooting hoops and visualizing themselves shooting the ball through the basket, which I know sounds like a silly exercise, but there were some studies done showing that people who visualized it did better than those that didn't visualize it before. Now, who knows how true this could be totally a fake study. But anyways, I was like, that sounds cool. I want to visualize myself going down a mountain and doing that same section that I fell on. So, but what's crazy about fear is that when I was visualizing myself like going down that section where I fell off and broke my wrist, I was falling off in my mind, which I know sounds crazy. This is how strong fear can take a hold of us. So there I was, like visualizing myself doing the mountain biking ride. And then I got to that section where I fell and I'm going down. And in my mind, I would fall off my bike. Like, it's like, what? Like in my own mind, like my own fantasy, I can't even get down the mountain. Like that's how much fear gripped me. And so I had to force myself to mentally visualize myself doing the entire bike ride, going down the hill successfully. And I had to keep visualizing myself do it over and over again to kind of help me build mental confidence, which, and I couldn't believe I had to do that. Like, I couldn't believe in my own mind, I was like failing. Um, and sure enough, like the moment I got better and the doctors gave me the thumbs up to go mountain biking, I went back on that mountain and I went down that section. I did it 4 times that same day to prove to myself that I got over that fear. So I want to share with you like those things. Those are some things that I have done. Number one, like honor the feeling, honor those emotions, set goals for yourself, visualize success, and focus on those things that you can do in the meantime, especially if you can do anything physical to get that heart rate up or anything that's going to help you feel better, stretching, walking, getting into a pool and walking around, whatever it is that you can possibly do to stay active. And so anyways, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you stay safe during this season. I know that we're all in the middle of a pandemic. Stay safe, and let's continue chatting in the comments. Take care.